everybody. Toast to you. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. I've been gone for a couple days. I had the flu, unfortunately. I finally got what the kids had. Pretty miserable. So I just took a couple days to stay in bed and relax. Feeling better now. So if I have to pause suddenly because of this cough, I'm sorry. Don't mind me. It's just that yucky time of year, getting cold, everybody inside, everything's going around. Everybody's getting back out into normalcy a little bit, I think. And so we're really feeling that rush of germs. So I hope everybody's taking care of themselves. I hope that you stay healthy and that you don't catch this yucky flu. Anyways, so we are almost done with our introspective journey. We have a couple of questions to make up for today, and then there's just a few more days left before Yule. So hopefully tomorrow I can make the Yule video, also get the dark moon video. I'll probably put them together just because that energy is real close and kind of goes together. So hopefully I can do that tomorrow, and we can get all through this. I hope that you have really learned something through this introspective journey. I hope that you have gotten some deeper insight, gained some wisdom on yourself, a better perspective, so that you can achieve the goals that you want and get closer to that ideal self that you're looking for, and really, be able to move forward with confidence and, find that success. So I hope that this has been a successful journey for you. I know for me personally, if you look at my journal, it's like well loved. I very much, I guess not all the pages, but some of them have a lot of stuff. So it's just one of those things. I hope you take that time. It's not too late to order the book and go back through it. You can always do it later. And I hope, like I said, I hope that you're really getting the most out of this. So our questions for today, like I said, we're going to make up a couple. So the first question is, do you find you're often offended by others? So I want to start off, we're going to separate some offensiveness here. So there are things that should offend you. There are societal norms, there are, unkind behaviors, there are things that just are downright rude and are not okay. And so that's not what I'm talking about. If you find that you are getting offended often because of these kind of things, racial, sexual, harassment, any kind of those really offensive things that, maybe there's someone in your life you need to be removed from and not be around. Maybe you need to find new friends. Maybe there's something there. So if you do find that you're being offended a lot in these ways, someone's being degrading towards you or using language that's offensive or it's abusive. And so that's not what I'm talking about. If that is the kind of abuse that you are receiving, please reach out for help. Find new friends. Remove yourself from those toxic situations. And, get help. Find support because it's there. I can support you in as many ways as that I can. I can help you find local organizations if you're in an abusive relationship, and you can get help. And it's not okay for those behaviors. Those things should be offensive. So that's the one. Now, on the other side of that, sometimes we find that we're offended by a lot of things. I had a friend for many, many years. If you in any way used the word selfish, this person would be super offended. Like really offended. And, over the years, I just learned not to use that word. But it's just one of the, maybe that shouldn't be, that's one of those, maybe you need to reflect on that. So if you find something of that nature where you're like, wow, whenever someone uses this language with me or says these kind of things, it really offends me. Start to think about why, why is this word such a trigger for you? Maybe it's actions. Maybe, for me, like my daughter shook a gum thing at me to ask for some gum. I was like, no, She's like, Mom, why not? Like, it's not before dinner time and all of these requirements. I said, because you shook it at me and that was rude. Like, I find that offensive. That's rude behavior. Um, but if you find like someone says a different opinion and it offends you, maybe think about why you find that so offensive. Why does it bother you so much that someone else says something different? I know that, like, in my relationship with my husband, sometimes because we do things differently, it's like we both get in these moments where we're like, my way is better, and I'm offended that you want to tell me a different way. But you know what? Everybody has a different perspective and a different approach to a situation, and it doesn't mean there's only one right way. There are many ways to do something. Uh, some ways are easier, some ways are faster, some ways have different benefits to them, some ways are easier for a certain person than others. You know, my sister and I are, you know, she's much taller than I am, she's got a lot more upper body strength than I do. And so when it comes to like brute force pulling, she's much stronger than I am. And so she can do things differently, where I'm real good at getting leverage or lifting or just different things. And so we don't necessarily approach a physical activity in the same way, but we both get it done just as effectively for the way that we're doing it. And that's okay. So you have to kind of think about what's offending you, how you're getting offended, and then what is really causing that. If it's a certain word, why is that such a trigger? If it's, you know, that people, you know, whatever it may be, um, just kind of think about that and kind of get a different perspective and see, okay, well, is it really worth me putting all of this energy into getting offended? And this is a touchy topic, but this is a really important one that I think that we need to talk about more. And the whole COVID and the vaccine and the sickness and the this became something that people got very offensive about because everyone has a different opinion. Um, I had to step away from some projects. I had to rearrange some situations in my life. There are things that I couldn't participate in. There are things that I reached out and did differently because being around people have who take such offense to someone having a different opinion to them, you know, for me, it was just like, you know what, it's not worth this for me to get into this kind of confrontation with other people. I'm just going to remove myself from this situation because I have a different opinion. I respect their opinion. They have trouble respecting mine, and that's okay. I'm going to let them have their moment. And that's fine. Sometimes you have to be able to step back like that and be able to just say, I don't want to carry that stress. I'm going to just this is my feelings, this is how I feel, this is where I sit, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to feel, and that's what I'm going to do. So you have to kind of, it comes back around to the saying of you can only control your reaction to a situation, and how do you want to react? So kind of process that, think about that as you think about the things that offend you on a regular basis. And if you find that you're getting offensive a lot, kind of think about the stress that that's putting on you and how that makes you feel. And is that something that you really want to hold on to? Now, there are some things, like I said, that are offensive and should be offensive, and we should all work towards making sure they don't happen anymore. Abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, racism, all of those things are offensive. They are bad, and we as a society need to stand up and say, we are not going to accept this anymore. We're not sweeping it under the rug anymore. We're not looking the other way in them anymore. This is a problem, and the way that we fix it is we put it on the table and we say, this is a problem. And then we say, you're being offensive because this is a problem and you need to change your behavior. So there are certain things. So I guess you got to classify, is this offense like a true offense? Or is this something that you're just maybe taking a little too personally, or you're letting it get to you when it doesn't need to? So just kind of think about that. It's funny because when I read that question, I was like, oh, I don't have a lot to say, but clearly I do. So our next question is, what do you like about yourself? And I don't want you to just pick one thing. I want you to pick like a lot of things. Start to think about all of the things that you like about yourself. And then maybe take that paper and put it on the bathroom mirror and add to it. Read it, think about it, look at it, really take in that information. Value the things about yourself that you honor. Honor the things, both ways are true, okay? Put value in those things that you find honorable and honor the things that you value. Like, if for me, I'm a problem solver, I can get things done, I'm creative, I'm smart, I am efficient and quick, and those things are good. And so I got to pat myself on the back and be like, this is good. Good job. You got a lot of things done today. You are getting things done. What you're doing is good. Good job. And really reward yourself for that. We spend so much time thinking about negative self talk and what we're not doing and can't do and won't do and didn't do. Phew, let go of that. Instead, focus on those things that are positive. Today, I got up and I made my husband birthday breakfast, and it was great. The kids had a great morning, and this has been a good day, and that's awesome. Yes, it's going good. And really focus on that. Temperature just dropped. It got really cold. So, make that list. What are the things that you really like about yourself? Make a whole list and then come back to it tomorrow and the next day and the next day, all the way till Yule. I would recommend just keep coming back to that. Make it a habit every morning to think about the things that you like about yourself, the things that you did a good job at, the things that you value, and put honor in them. So the next question is, do you listen when people talk to you? Explain. So this, I feel like, is another layered question. So superficially, we live in a world of instant gratification with cell phones and tablets and so much electronics just at our fingertips, and we're constantly just in this. And it makes it really hard to focus on what's here and now and around you. There's a funny commercial I see on the TV. It's like a public service commercial, and it's a little kid playing on the playground, and she's like, "Mom, watch! Mom, watch!" And the mom's like, "Yeah, yeah, And the little girl's getting her feelings hurt, and finally the mom puts her phone down, and is like, sees what oh, okay, and then goes and pays attention to her daughter. And it's just funny to me that it's not funny, it's sad that we live in a world where the public service commercials are no longer like, this is your brain on drugs, this frying pan and egg. Like, that's not what public service commercials are about. Public service commercials are about putting your phone down and paying attention to the people who are right in front of you. And so we do have a societal problem. People are addicted to their phones. My 11-year-old really wants a cell phone, and I'm one of those mean parents who will not let her have a cell phone. She's the only kid in her class. I think there's one other kid, but there's not very many kids who have no cell phones. And so she is constantly asking, and we just got new cell phones. So she's like, "Mom, can I have your old cell phone? We don't even have to turn it on. I just want to pretend like it's mine." And I just sat her down. I said, "Honey, you are already so addicted to something that you don't even have. You feel this need to have your face in this phone, and it's not even your phone. It doesn't really work. Like, you can't get on social media. You're not allowed on the internet. Like, there are all of these things, and you're still like, I need this." That's a problem. And I'm okay you being mad at me for me to not let you have a cell phone. And I told her, I said, if I could sit down every single one of the parents of all of the kids in your class and just shake them and be like, what are you doing to your child? And this is a really strong stance, but I have a very strong opinion on this because there is no statistical evidence that shows that your phone is good for you. None. I mean, yes, it puts information at our fingertips. It allows us to have these conversations, and it does do those kind of things. But it's addictive. It's bad for your brain. It causes depression. It causes so many bad things when we get down right into it. I mean, bullying, porn has gone to a really bad place. Like, I'm not against porn. I'm just against where it has gone with this scrolling porn. It's not a good thing. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for small kids' brains. And I told her, I said, I wish that I could shake every single one of your friends' parents and be like, what are you doing to your children? So if you have a child who's a teenager, take that cell phone away, and it's okay. Just do it. Just take it away. Say, no, it's not, you don't need this. You don't need social media. You don't need any of this. You can pick up the phone and call your friend for real, and that's fine. You can make plans to go see them, but you don't need to be on your phone all the time. And because of that, when you're having a conversation with somebody in person, there's so many times I see they're like, they're scrolling. People are scrolling on their phones while they're talking to you. And you're like, how are you talking to me and scrolling through your phone? Like, what is this? How is this working? Really? This is not. Be at the dinner table in a restaurant, and you like look around the restaurant and half the people have phones out at the table. And so really think about how much time you're spending listening to the people around you. And if you're on your phone all the time, maybe put your phone down. Have a conversation with somebody in person. Really get that personal contact. We need to get back to that. So that's the first part of this question. I know that was a really big side tangent, but this is something that's really important. And our society has a really big problem. And children have really, the rate of suicide among teenage girls has gone up over 300% since the start of social media. And that is a terrifying statistic. The number of teen girls who are taken into sex trafficking it's like one every 60 seconds. And that's in America. I'm not talking about taken from third world countries. I'm talking about in America, normal, what you would consider healthy teenagers are being conned into sex trafficking because of cell phones. This didn't, it happened before, but it didn't happen the way it does now. These groomers are not, they didn't have this amazing ability until now, but they can be whoever they want to be behind the screen of their phone and say all of these amazing things and convince all these teenage girls who are mad at their parents or upset with their boyfriends or mad at life to come with them. Oh, let's just go. We'll go for the weekend. I'll take you to whatever. And they believe them, and then they never come home. And that is terrifying. I honestly could never let my daughters have a cell phone, or I'd be okay with that. I listened to her complain her whole life. And it's not better for boys. Boys, their poor brains are being corrupted by violence and graphic sex before they are 15 to where it is warping and distorting their brains. And this is a problem. And that's something that's leading all the way into adulthood. And you talk to women and men about what they think normal is in the bedroom, and it's not, because they're watching this scrolling porn and they think that's normal, and it's not. So, sorry. Take the cell phones away from your teenagers. They're children. They don't need them. Hell, if Madonna doesn't give her 17-year-old a cell phone, I feel like you can too. We can do this. We can do this. Okay, sorry. I feel very passionate about that. Talking about it made me warm. That's how passionate I find. And then the other half of this is when you're actually in a conversation with people, are you actually listening to them when they talk? Or are you just hearing what you're going to respond to? And I know that, like, in my youth, this was a really big problem for me. I was just waiting for them to say something that I could respond to. That was it. I wasn't really listening to what they were saying. I was just waiting for them to say something that I could, oh, now I got something to say. And so I had to learn two lessons. One, it's okay to sit in silence and not say anything at all, because that makes you value the words that are coming out even more so. And I don't remember who it was who said this to me, but it was an older gentleman. It might have been my grandpa. I think it was while we were driving to Texas one time. And he says to me, you don't always have to be talking. When someone can't not talk, it shows that they are not comfortable in their own brain. And to hear that and to really think like, oh, okay, so I need to process that, think about that, and then, okay, let me really listen when other people are talking, and let me speak back with more intention instead of just trying to respond, because that's not listening. That's not having a good, healthy conversation. And so when you are in a conversation with someone, are you just waiting for your turn to respond, or are you actually listening to what they're saying? Are you taking it in? For me, because I'm a hard-headed kind of person. I literally had to spend years repeating back what people said to me. Like they would say something and then I would repeat it back. And I had some really good friends who were helpful and helped me to learn this lesson. I imagine it was really frustrating for them. And I wasn't like parroting it back, but it was like they would say it and then I would say it. And we'd be like, okay, now we see that we're understanding what each other are saying. Um, so I really had to learn that the hard way. Other people don't necessarily have such trouble learning that lesson. But uh, as you are in that conversation, are you really listening to what people are saying? So really reflect on those two sides of that conversation, the two sides of that listening to other people. Are you having real conversations where you're talking to people face to face, like, and I'll give it to you. Maybe you're FaceTiming or you're talking on the phone, but I'm not talking text messaging. That does not count as talking. If you're typing, you're not talking. I'm talking personal experience, like connecting. And are you actually listening to them while you're having that connection? Let's really ponder that. And take the cell phones away from your teenagers. They don't need them. I know they'll be mad, but it doesn't matter. It's not worth it. Really think about all of, like, it's just not worth it. Anyways, so what change would make the biggest difference in your life, and what holds you back from making that change? This is a hard question for me because it was, what would a change be that I could make that would really make a big difference in my life? And honestly, I haven't thought of one yet. My page is still blank. I'm going to still work on that question because I don't have any, like, that thing. That would make a big difference in my life. I imagine if I had never smoked or quit smoking, I would save some money, and that might make a difference. I mean, not a lot. I'm not a huge smoker, but I live smoking, so just sorry. I feel like that's not really and part of the challenge for me in answering this question is I am a jumper, and if I see something that needs to be changed, I just make the change and do it. Just head first, feet first, whatever, just go and make the change. I don't like treading water. I get kind of sitting in a situation waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't like that. I would rather just drop the shoes and make the change. There you go. And that's also like a coping mechanism from having a disruptive childhood and not being able to control things. So I just was like, I will control them. I'll make that change and do it. So, but start to think about the changes that you could make in your life. Think about the challenges that you have in your life and what you could do to make those changes. Maybe it's a small thing, maybe it's a big thing, maybe changing your diet would make a big difference, or maybe changing your sleeping habits, or not being on your cell phone so much. All of those kind of things. This is like turning into a public service announcement about the harmful effects of cell phones. If you don't believe me or you want more research on that, I know there's some great TED Talks on it that I've watched where they talk about the harms of cell phones in teenagers. There's some really great psychiatrists. Joe Rogan's got a couple interviews where he interviews some really good psychiatrists and psychologists who talk about the effects that it's having on our society. Look into it. You don't have to take my word for it, but I'm telling you, the statistics show there's no good that comes from it. No good. So, but think about the little changes. A big change that we made in our household many years ago is my husband quit drinking, and that was a huge change. So maybe there's something of that nature. Maybe you are an alcoholic or you have an addiction that you need to focus on, and you need to say, okay, it's time to let this go. It's time to step back from this. Like I said, maybe your eating habits aren't very good, and just simply eating breakfast every day might make a huge difference in your world. So there's just small things that you could do to change. So just start to think about the things that you could change that would make a big difference, and then how to make those changes, or why you're not making those changes, or what's holding you back from making those changes. And this is one of those goal setting activities. So if you come up with something great, maybe make a goal. Like, I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes. I tried so many times. And then our last question today is, what are your most common negative self-talks, and are they realistic? And I'm going to tell you, they're not. I've never met anybody whose self-negative talk was super realistic. I mean, it might have some so here's negative self-talk. I look anorexic. I have difficulty putting on weight and keeping weight on. So after 4 days of not eating, I really didn't look anorexic. It was bad. I was like, oh my god. It wasn't as bad as I saw in my brain. Okay, so um, what kind of negative self-talk do you have? My biggest negative self-talk is that I am not enough. I don't do enough, and if I don't do enough, everybody around me is just going to leave. That's my own abandonment issues from childhood, and that's something that I work on every day. I've made really big improvements in it over the last year, but that is definitely the negative self-talk. And when that comes into my brain, I'm like, that is not realistic. It's not. You do so much, and if what you do is not enough for the people around you, then they don't deserve to have you. And I just had to start telling myself that, and really, like, this is the truth, and really own that. And so, what is your negative self-talk? The dog over here. Gosh, hopefully it's not as bad without the microphone. So, what is your negative self-talk, and what is it that's holding you down? And is that really realistic? We might have things like, I don't like the way that I look, and that does reflect in some ways, but being negative and talking down to yourself is not a solution to the problem. It doesn't help. It actually makes it worse, especially when it comes to like physical appearances, those kind of things. As soon as you start negative self-talking, you're just encouraging that negative behavior. And so step back, let go, and you have to reprogram that. So like I said, whenever I think to myself, well, I didn't do enough today, or this person isn't going to like me because I didn't do enough for them, that's ridiculous. I literally tell myself that's ridiculous. And if what I'm doing is not enough, then they don't deserve to have me. Period. And I just have to keep telling myself that every time that negative self-talk comes into my head, and eventually it'll go away because I will have reprogrammed it. But after 38 years of telling myself and being told it's not enough, it's going to take some time for me to reprogram that. And that's okay. Have that patience with yourself, and that's okay. Every time you have that negative self-talk, what is your reprogramming statement? What is it that you're going to say to yourself in order to reverse that? You know, if it's, I'm anorexic looking and that's gross, like, no, you just need to go eat a cheeseburger and you'll be all right. That's what I did yesterday. 2 meals from McDonald's, one sitting. I ate them all. It was amazing. But again, I have other, like, I know that's really frustrating for people to hear. But my metabolic disorder is in the opposite direction of most people's. If I don't eat at least 1,000 calories to 2,000 calories a day, then I do lose weight. I get really sick. I was at a camping festival many years ago, and they had a raw vegan kitchen that fed us for 2 weeks, and I lost 25 pounds. It was really bad. It was really bad, and it's like I like left there and went and ate a foot long meatball sandwich, and all of this amazing. Oh, my mouth is watering. But so uh, think about your negative self-talk and think about how you're going to reprogram that. So now that we've gone over several questions, I hope that everybody is having a fantastic day. We'll go over them just one more time real quick. And then, yeah, so the questions we had today are, do you find you're often offended by others? What do you like best about yourself? Do you listen when people talk to you? What change would make the biggest difference in your life, and what holds you back from making that change? And what are your most common negative thoughts, and are they realistic? And again, I'm going to tell you they're not. Even if your negative self-talk is based in a real thing, like your size or something, you have red hair, whatever it is, to put such negative connotation on it is not realistic. And these are, you gotta just change that mindset. So I hope everybody is enjoying their weekend. I hope you have a fantastic day. Many blessings to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys all soon.